I'm a PhD student in computer science at the University of Hawaii. And today I'm talking about, we call it SGSEAM. It's a stakeholder experience-based approach to access serious game frameworks. And it just happened that we talk about serious game and gamification. I have a slide here. I kind of agree with the author of this book, the Gamification of Learning and Instruction. He considered that the use of serious game actually is a form of gamification. So it's on a meta level. So there's a good discussion in this book. So we just agree. So we just use this this approach. Then that's why I think that. So the question is the question of our assessment is your serious game effect or is your gamified application is effective or not? There's a quite approach. There's quite a lot of approach to talk about the effectiveness of serious game. And for example, although they are fairly recent, you see the publication it's on after 2010 and 2012. There's a book talking about the assessment of the serious game. And how about the serious game framework? And because a lot of serious game actually use serious game framework to design and develop the serious game. And the benefit of serious game framework actually provide the building blocks, so you don't need to spend. Actually, you can spend shorter time to create a new game, and then you can focus on the game content instead of the infrastructure. And that's Makahiki is one of the open source serious game framework that for sustainability education that we developed in University of Hawaii. So the serious purpose of this game is for especially for Hawaii's specific situation, and then I believe it's also apply for the whole world in general. And we have several instances of the serious game that was developed by the Makahiki, the framework, and one is the first one is in 2011. It's a Kukuru Cup energy challenge that for the students that are living in the dorm, and there's also another challenge built by the Hawaii Pacific University and also the East-West Center in Hawaii that it's in international educational institute. So they have different configuration. For example, they have different smart meter instruction, and then the framework have to support that. And then different student population. They have authentication. Also, the authentication mechanism is different. And the main question is how do we know that we developed this serious game framework and then is it correctly designed, and what is the strengths and weakness of the system? And that's why we developed this method. So we look at the stakeholder experience. So it's also you can fall into some the UX evaluation space. First, we want to identify the stakeholder of the serious game. So obviously, the first is the player, so that participate in the game. And as a serious game framework, so you need to install the framework, install the serious game, and the software hardware level. And then on the game designer, so there's because the game designer actually use the framework to design the game. So they don't need to, the game designer, they don't need to worry about how to create the UI for this one, but mainly focus on the content, and especially in the educational serious game space. And the game manager actually is the person that managed the game during this game period. So it's different than a game designer because it's more focused on the actual running the game, right? in most serious game scenario, you have some kind of event. Those events you need to do the marketing. You need to handle how the event work out, right? And for the developer side, that it's different than the previous stakeholder. It's more focused on how you provide a better UI, for example, right? How to extend, customize the game. And there's some other stakeholders for the serious game, like the researchers, and the framework could provide some kind of analytics, for example, right? So to provide tools for the researcher to do the research on this game and to evaluate the result of the game. And the spectator, so to consider that actually it's not a player, but he's very interested in the result and the state of the game. And the community partner, we consider it's those people that actually partner with the game manager to run the game, like the event promoters, for example. And the funding organization definitely is a very important stakeholder. But from the SGSEAM perspective, so we focus on the software infrastructure. So that's why we only focus on these 5 stakeholders. And those others still also important, right? But as a software in computer science, and then we want to focus on how this stakeholder, what is the experience relating to the serious game framework and the serious game. So the question for the player is, so we want to access to what extent the system affect the player, right? To what extent the system engage the player, and for the system admin, we want to look at the strengths and weakness of the installation process, right? How many time it spent to install the system, what kind of problem they encounter. Similar for the game designer. So the framework will have a user interface for you to design the game, to put in the content. So what is is it easy to do that? Is it what kind of problem they encounter? And for the game manager, you also use some kind of UI in the framework to manage the game. Like you probably want to do some kind of approval system that you can approve the interaction from the player that's during the game. You're going to do that. And the developer, basically, you want to look at what kind of API, for example, you provide in the framework to facilitate the development of a new enhancement. So the assessment methodology actually has come from the very good book from Cashwell, the research design. So we want to look at 2 approach. One is the quantitative analysis. Basically, the framework you want to provide some kind of analytics data to the game state. So all the logging, there should be a lot of logging involved in the system. And we can also do the qualitative analysis. So we do interview, do survey. We'll be surprised to get a lot of insight from the interview and survey. That is, you won't be able to get it from the quantitative the data. So that's the overview of the SGSEAM. So basically for these 5 stakeholders, and then we can do, it's a little bit different from the player side. So the player want to access the effectiveness. So we want to do you can do a pre-post study, you can do self-reported metrics like the survey, and interview. And then there's also engagement metric you can get from the game log. And for the other stakeholders, so there's several ways to do that. You can do a post-hoc the interview of the system of the people that actually using the framework and running the game. And then we can also do some kind of in-lab experiments to get the the people try to install and admin the system in the lab environment. So I want to talk about the application of the SGSEAM into the Makahiki framework as an example of the method that applied to the real serious game framework. So what we did is we have a pre-post study, pre and post study of the player. So this Makahiki is a game framework for the sustainability education, right? So we want to measure the literacy increase or decrease before and after the game. So that's the result that we see that there's 18% increasement. So you can see that from the pre-post study that we see the result. And then, but on the energy usage side, so it's not that good. So although there's some other situation that it might be that the baseline is not good enough, and then other situation, but it's a way to access the actual result of your serious game. So in a different framework, different serious game, you might have a different criteria, right? From education point of view, you want to measure the like the quiz that we talked about, the person before to talk about. So basically, it's a general approach to do the pre-post study. And the self-report metrics, so we actually have in-game survey to the player. Then we have 10 questions. That's more question actually. So one of the question is you want to ask that what is confusing, what's the problem that you use the system. So that's one of the result, and then it seems that the framework actually provide a good interface, the usability to the player. So that's the engagement metrics that we got from the analytics of the system log. So I want to point out that one interesting aspect is one interesting data that we got from this particular analysis is the playtime per day. For this player, actually, we see that there's one player actually spend 8 hours a day to play the game. It's very surprising to us, actually, but it just turned out this person is the first player, by the way, so he's the winner. So for some data, he just probably don't have anything to do at that time. Anyway, so the participation is important to see that how many people that actually play the game. And then there's a population, right? So you want to look at what's the size of population and then how many people actually play. And then it's from the analytics point of view, you can see that the user registration is very important, right? So some of the serious games that probably don't allow don't have the capability of people to register. So that we feel that is the weakness of the serious game. But you really want to know who actually play the game instead of you just throw out the website out there and then let people play. You don't know who actually play. So with the registration of the player, that you can see exactly how many number of player play per day, and then how many the play time of each person. So it's more accurate than just using the IP address, right? Probably some system you can see the IP address, but nowadays they can use their phone, they can use the laptop, and then they use wireless everywhere. So the IP address is not precise in a way. So the username actually is very important. That's one of the lessons we learned. And then from the analytics, you can see the website error actually, right? So it's not perceivable to the, well, it's some kind of perceivable to the user, because if they got a 500 error, so in computer term that you got an error message that show up in the interface, that will be a big disengagement for the user side. Okay, so that's the player, and then so we want to discuss this in-lab experiments for the other stakeholders. So we actually have an experiment for 8 students, and then they're all senior and undergraduate. Oh, sorry, sorry, it's here. So they're all senior undergraduate student and a graduate student in the computer science department. So we have a serious game development class actually using Makahiki. So we asked them to install the framework and then to design a game using this framework and then to develop enhancement using this framework. And then we use this Google form, probably it's not that, but there's a Google form that we ask the student to fill out this step-by-step, how many times they spend to do this task, what kind of problem they encounter when completing this task. The result, actually, you can the result is so there's a few steps to involve this particular installation, right? And then by looking at the time and the problem they encounter, so they are correlated. You can see that the most time they spend on doing this installation is the database configuration. That it's probably very common for this kind of framework. And then the problem they encounter also reveal that that's the most people encounter the same problem in this space. So you can use this approach to access the another framework. Like we want to look at how many times they spend to do this task, and then what kind of problem they encounter to do this task. So that's one of our assessment. So there's another serious game framework that is developed by the Lucid design group. So it's called Building Dashboard. So it's used by a lot of university and the public school to create the energy competition in the sustainability area. So we plan to using the same assessment approach to apply to another framework to see that this method has the strength, also the strength and weakness of this method itself, right? So we want to use this method to assess different serious game framework to see what they can improve on this framework, and right. Okay, thank you very much.